When I first started language learning, I just found the one app I knew about and gave it a go. I didn't get very far, so I hopped through a whole bunch of apps in a whole bunch of months. But thankfully, a lot of really great polyglots taught me a lot of really great tricks. And after studying a handful of languages as an adult, and being pretty good at some of them, I've learned a lot too. I can tell you that if you plan well, you'll succeed. But if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So in this video, we're going to look at the 5 steps I take when planning my language learning for the next couple of months. And I'll give you real life examples as to how I'm using those steps right now. 1, I set my goal. 2, I set my money and time budgets. 3, I find resources that help me train all 4 of my language skills. 4, I actually train a 5th secret skill that nobody's told you about. And 5, I find an awesome support system. Now, none of these steps are going to sell you anything. There's a lot of sponsored content on YouTube, but I don't have anything here. I just really like language learning. So let's jump in and talk about these 5 steps, plus how I'm using them right now. This way you can start to think like a polyglot. The first language learning polyglot secret is that you need to set a goal. When I was first starting out with Spanish years ago, I thought, well, obviously my goal is to be fluent, but what is fluent? Is fluent sounding exactly like a native? Because that involves a lot of accent work and making like no errors. And who is a native? I'm assuming you want to sound like a college-educated native, but that's a small population. And even with that, a biochemist in Mexico is going to sound totally different than an Argentinian poet. If you think fluent is just good enough to have a conversation with somebody, that's a lot more realistic. But what kind of conversations do you want to have? Who do you want to have them with? And what do you want to talk about? Now you're starting to think like a polyglot. But even though I'm used to all of this and thinking like this, because I have studied a bunch of languages, my situation now is a little bit different. The language I'm sitting down to tackle is actually my native language. And I'm not learning it, I'm relearning it. If you want to learn more about why I'm relearning my native language, you can go onto my channel and check out the playlist called Watch Me Relearn My Native Language. But for this video, just know that when you do something like this with a heritage language, it comes with a lot of its own issues. I'm Polish American. Without repeating too much of the other video, just know that I'm a dual citizen and I was bilingual when I was a baby, and now I can't really speak Polish. Well, then you're not really Polish, are you? Well, I'm a dual citizen. According to the Polish government, I'm a natural citizen just born abroad. So I have the same rights to live in my country and to work there and to vote like a Polish or EU citizen. But that said, I can't speak the language of the country where I'm a citizen. My accent is always going to sound a little off. I definitely sound like I'm Polish when I can produce a little bit of Polish, but also like I'm not really Polish. And the Polish that I can sometimes, under the right circumstances, produce is the Polish of a 4-year-old, which is when English was introduced into my life. So I stopped speaking it as much as at home, and I never developed adult Polish. I was never an adult speaking Polish. So as far as my goal setting goes, sounding like a native is going to be extremely stressful. And even talking about a lot of adult things seems like it's really far off right now. But on the other hand, if I don't sound like I'm a native, I'm setting myself up for a lot of really harsh criticism from other Polish citizens. With my heritage language, my goal that I'm setting right now is just to be able to speak better with my grandparents. They mostly speak to me in Polish, I mostly speak to them in English, kind of works out. And we really just talk about home things, you know, like how's it been going? Food, friends, family, that sort of stuff. And with that kind of vocabulary, all I really need is good command of verbs and relatively simple grammar. To give you some contrast, my current goal in my much stronger French has recently been to just improve my ability to argue with my friends about politics and food and culture and wine. And my friends are actually experts in those fields. In Spanish, which is my strongest non-English language, my goal is currently to write so well that I can pick up blogging jobs for large companies. So obviously those things are way more ambitious than talking to my grandparents and are going to have their own kind of study structures and study plans. But right now, this is good for a start. After I reach this first goal, then I can set additional goals. I'm not sure what they'll be yet, but I suspect that in like 6 months or so, I'll start getting there. So while you're setting your goals, just think about the first thing you want to do while you're still learning. There's also a lot of really great goal setting advice that a lot of way cooler polyglots have given, and hopefully I'll do a video on that in the future. There's also a lot of tools that you can use to set goals. I'm going to hopefully do a video about it in the future. You can subscribe and sometime soon you'll see that. But for right now, this is a good start. The second secret polyglot step is to budget your resources, which in this case are time and money. A lot of people who are new to language learning will just say $0 because there's all this stuff on apps and on YouTube and all that, right? But let me ask you another question. What is the cash value of literally having a superpower? How much money would you spend to become a superhero with superpowers? Because multilingualism feels like a superpower, and all of your friends will start to treat you like a superhero. With the languages I've studied most recently, my favorite thing has been diving right in with a private teacher day one. So when I started studying Catalan, I had no knowledge of it when I walked into my first class, and I just went for it that way. I loved this because it was like having a teacher and a cheerleader and a textbook all in one. But right now, I'm not in the same financial place. Private classes are actually pretty affordable. Usually a good teacher will be around $30 a week. They'll give you some homework, they'll give you a lot of help. And I can't wait to get there with my Polish, but right now it's a few months out. So for the first 2 months of studying Polish, I'm going to combine awesome free internet resources, tons of resources which my library network has, and probably $50 between the 2 months in case there's something I can't find otherwise. And honestly, $50 for language learning in 2 months is not that much money. Do I have $50 to eat out right now? No. Do I have $50 for superpowers? Yes, I do. But after those first 2 months, I'm gonna start bringing in some classes and gradually increase my budget a little. So that's money. But what about the time budget? If you know you have free time, 30 minutes a day of real structured studying plus 30 minutes of a Netflix series or music is awesome. You're going to be in great shape. And if you can do that consistently, you're going to make so much progress so quickly. I don't have an hour a day. I know, I promise I'm also extremely overworked. So here's how I'm finding some secret time during my day. Head over to Instagram, and in the top right, you're gonna click your options. From that menu, you're going to go to activity. I know my phone is in Spanish, yours probably is not. Now we're going to see how much time I waste on social media every day. Obviously, if you have other apps, do this for all your apps. Instagram is just the only one I have. Now, I like Instagram. It's super relaxing for me to shut off my brain for a little bit every day and just scroll through stuff. But I'm also gonna say that 30 minutes of this time I can give to language learning. Again, if you could train a superpower, but you needed to give it 30 minutes a day, would you? Then to make sure you can actually do this, you might want to consider putting a detox app on your phone. I use App Detox, which has a lot of different preferences. I believe iOS also has a function like this built into their phone, but I use Android. So for me, I know right now this is a priority, so I am going to put about 60 minutes in a day. Just let me be clear that I can do 60 minutes a day because I've been language learning for years now. I know 60 minutes a day is sustainable for me, but it's not sustainable for people who don't have this sort of practice. With language learning, you're not only practicing the language, but you're also learning how to learn, how to put learning into your day, how to structure these very long-term plans, and there's a lot of metacognition that goes into it. So if you're not sure that you can do 60 minutes a day, just start with 30. And if you're really I can't even do 30 minutes a day, just do 5. But you have to do it every day. That's the secret. You're gonna budget money and you're gonna stick to that budget. And then you're gonna budget time and you're also going to stick to that budget. Again, it just has to be every day. That's the polyglot secret. The third step in planning your new language learning life is to find the actual resources that will help you train all 4 skills of a language. This means you have to find apps or books or whatever, but they have to train speaking, reading, writing, and listening. Yes, you have to practice all 4 of them. No talking to yourself, to an app, alone doesn't really count. Just think about how many times in English you've had a word at the tip of your tongue, but you couldn't actually say it until somebody else said it. That can happen to a whole language unless you actually practice speaking. And then think of like thorough, through, though. They sound different, but they look super similar. So just because you can speak a language doesn't mean you can read or write in that language. But the good news is that if you do practice all 4 of these skills, you'll actually be making them all stronger at the same time. Just think about a table. A sturdy table stands really well on 4 legs, okay on 3 legs, and terribly on 1 or 2 legs. Now, finding your favorite language learning resources takes a lot of trial and error. You're gonna have to practice and really discover what you yourself like. I actually have a whole playlist on this YouTube channel about language learning resources, my reviews, none of which are sponsored, about apps and books and classes and anything that maybe you've heard of or maybe not. They're basically gonna be my most favorite and most despised tools because I have a lot of opinions. So go check out that playlist after this video is done and hit subscribe because I will continue to publish them into the future because I love experimenting with resources. So for Polish and my current goal setting process, I've already picked out my resources that I'm going to start with. Now again, this is just my first 2 months. I'm setting myself up to win the best I can, but some of these resources I'm not actually familiar with. I've just heard good things, or maybe I've seen good reviews. So this might change in 2 months, but I'll also, on the channel, be doing a monthly check-in. For general, like, vocab and grammar learning, I'm going to start with Michelle Thomas and Mango Languages. I have a whole video on Michelle Thomas on my channel in that resources playlist, and Mango comes recommended to me from my friend Cara, who's also a polyglot, and I'm getting both of them through my library. These 2 apps are also going to fulfill my very early on speaking needs, since you are speaking in both of them, even though you're not in a conversation. So long term, they won't really meet that need, but for the first month or so, they should be good. To supplement my listening, I'm going to start listening to new music in Polish. Listen to me. I love music and language learning. Music is an absolute part of my language learning flow. It helps motivate me. It's easy to do. When I look up the lyrics and then I listen to the song after, it's functionally a bunch of flashcards for vocabulary. So I'm going to use a lot of music. For reading and writing, even though Polish is my heritage language and I can understand a decent amount of it, I'm absolutely illiterate. Classic heritage language situation. So I need something like very basic. My plan is to use a workbook for that. I like workbooks a lot more than textbooks for language learning because in the workbook, you have a lot of practice space, whereas a textbook is more explanation based. But unfortunately for Polish, my library doesn't seem to have anything very good. Now to me, there's a couple of things that make a language learning workbook really good. First, it has an audio component. So in the past, it's been CDs. Now I'm seeing a lot more companies put out like basically free audio files on their website. And this way you can work on your reading and your listening with the same tool. A good workbook also has reading exercises with full texts, like a paragraph or dialogue. This way you have experience actually reading in the language, not just a word here and there. They also have some fill-in-the-blank type drills, but places where you can write whole sentences. If you're just picking words from a word bank, you're not actually practicing how you would use the language in real life in like a conversation or in a text message. You're just getting really good at doing workbooks, which is different. So for my $50 budget, I'm actually going to buy 2 different workbooks, which look really good online, and I can't really tell which one might help me more. Worst case, one is really good, and again, $50, superpowers. But also best case, they're both good, and I get to really reinforce the skills by doing different types of exercises on the same piece of grammar. Also really quick, if there's a certain app you want to see a review on, or maybe a publishing company, or pretty much anything, leave it in the comments below, because as I'm making videos, I'm going to check back here and see what people actually want reviews on. So to recap, I've done 3 steps so far. 1, I've set a concrete, reasonable goal. 2, I've set a budget for cash and time, about $50 for the first 2 months, and for me personally, 60 minutes a day, but the most important thing is that I do it daily. And 3, I found resources that train all 4 core skills of a language. I'm going to use Michelle Thomas, Mango Languages, music, and these 2 workbooks I got. I'm not sure how this plan is going to work out for me just yet, but that's the beauty of a plan, is that you can change it. I'll be posting on this channel every month so you can see how the plan is going, how it's adjusted, how it unfolds, and this will all be in the playlist Watch Me Relearn My Native Language. Now, the 4th step is the secret 5th skill of learning a language. It's not speaking, it's not listening, it's not reading, it's not writing. So what's left? Culture. When you have a strong cultural context for the language you're learning, you're not only going to be more motivated and inspired, but you're going to be working on soft skills too, like politeness or understanding jokes. Right now, I'm not actually even sure how much Polish I can still understand. And even though it's my culture, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's happened that I'm not familiar with. Think about it, my parents left Poland in the 80s. So some things have happened in Poland since the 80s. I'm going to start with the Easy Polish YouTube channel. Now, I've used Easy Languages for German and Portuguese, and I've loved them. They're really fun listening exercises. You get a bunch of free culture, and for especially beginner listening, they're really just like fun and silly and creative. So now I have all of these language resources, and I know I'm going to use them consistently every day for my allotted time. For me, that's probably going to be my lunch break. I can just envision myself eating with one hand and playing with Mango Languages, and then maybe going on a walk and doing the Michelle Thomas tapes, and then just, winding down listening to some music while I get back to work. So now we have our 5th and last step to set your soul plan, which sets you up for language learning success. Find a support network. There are so many people out there who know how to learn languages and who want you to learn languages. I can give you a list of reasons why I became a polyglot. Ingrid, Kirsten, Suzanne, Cara, MK, Jessica and Maria, Elizabeth, Aaron. There are so many good humans who I've met during my language learning journey. Some have been teachers and coaches, some have been language exchange partners, some have just been friends. But no matter how distracted I get with my life and my job and other hobbies, those connections make me want to keep learning languages. And if you want to join the language learning community, you can follow me on Instagram, and through there, you can kind of spread out and meet everybody else. I make memes, I have a good time, I repost cool stuff. It's a great time over there. But if you don't have Instagram, you can also head over to my website where I have a monthly emailing list. Every month you get one little email about everything I've found or made that month related to relearning languages. There'll also be community stuff there too, so you can meet more people who are doing the same thing. Because honestly, once you find one polyglot, you'll find the rest. And they will give you all of their secret polyglot tips. Because we're all aggressively friendly. And because nobody else will talk to us about learning languages. So for Polish, I'm going to start following hashtags on Instagram related to learning Polish. I know there's got to be other people learning it, whether they're learning it as a heritage language or a second language or a foreign language, but I also know there's going to be a bunch of independent teachers there who I might want to follow because I'm eventually hoping to take private classes. So those are my 5 steps for setting a language learning plan, plus my current language learning plan. If you know somebody who's struggling to learn a language, send them this video because their problem is probably their plan. And because being multilingual is a superpower. So my resources are in order, my budget is all set, and I am good to go for the next few months. Subscribe here, check back, and I will be posting my progress to show you how this plan is going in the playlist entitled Watch Me Relearn My Native Language.